I guess I will make my presentation. This should be fun. Nobody knows what I'm presenting. I didn't tell anybody, so this will be interesting. I am going to be demoing a live system that I would say is in alpha development. So that should be interesting as well. Let's go ahead. I am Justin Kieltha, VP of Services at Technology Advisors. I've been here over 18 years. Almost as long as Alan, but not quite. StarfishETL powers Connect Creatio. It is an integration platform. ETL stands for Extract, Translate, Load. So you extract the data from CRM or ERP, you can translate it, and then load it back into some other system or the same systems. We do do-it-yourself migrations, starter migrations, starter integrations. Connect Designer lets you configure those integrations and migrations. We have customers that are uploading CSV files every day into their systems, and others that have really complex integrations, pushing data back and forth. Mostly, a lot of times we're in QuickBooks, ERP, Epicor, NetSuite, things like that. Marketing automation, and lots of good stuff. People like us. Yay. We have awards from G2 Crowd. We have over 350 connectors. We work with Open API. That's an open source API structure you can use. So customers will give us an API and we can plug it in within just a couple of hours because they're using the Open API. And you can build your own connectors. We can process data nightly, hourly, weekly, monthly, or you can call our APIs and do it in real time, so we have any levels of integration there. Data transformations, I'm going to demo that. Customizable starter templates. Like I said, we have lots of templates, and we have lots of institutional knowledge, and we have lots of examples we can look at, copy, and get you up and running with integrations very quickly. We do have very flexible deployment options. We run in the cloud as an iPaaS service, integration platform as a service. Or we can run on your own servers. If you are in financial and have to have everything local, we can do that. Or hybrid, where we put a small service on your network and it lets us securely talk to it. So we are very secure and we can run in many places. We are fully scalable. We run on Amazon AWS, and those servers are just impressive. And they can be made bigger very quickly. So I only have a couple more slides, but I wanted to get to my demonstration. Again, I hope this goes well. So let's see it. Too much stuff open. Okay, so I'm going to demo. Apparently not. I have to end my presentation somehow. Exit. There we go. Here we are in Creatio. Again, I mentioned we can integrate with anything, whether it's sales related, service related, bringing invoices in. Today I'm going to look specifically at cases. I've created a few cases in here. These are brand new as of this morning, and they have some pretty basic questions. How do I make sure that I do not reprocess records when using StarfishETL? In Creatio, how do I make a test field to allow carriage returns? Questions like that. And we're going to come back to this after we look at Starfish and what it's going to do to these cases. So I will log in there. While that's logging in, I want to come over to StarfishETL. I have this read case and update triage notes. So here I've read out those 5 cases that were brand new, and I can preview my data and see all of that information. If I scroll to the right, we can see some of those questions that I had just mentioned somewhere in here. If I find the subject, here's the subject. And it's just really easy to map things like that. I can choose my destination. In my case, I'm using something called Respell, which I think you guys will find interesting. It may not be of use for you, but it has to do with AI, and AI is coming, and you can build your own AI applications very quickly and easily. With regards to mappings, I have to first reach out to Respell and run their spell. And I'm not going to open that one because it has my secure key on that, and we are recording this. So I'll open the next item. So each stage is pulling from the source, writing to the destination, except for this one. This one's interesting. I want to take the data that Respell generates and push it back into my origin connection. Or I could choose a third connection and just write wherever I want. So it's very extremely flexible. But here I want to update the Creatio case. I'm going to go ahead and update that. I pull my ID in from the origin. I'm matching on that, so I make sure I update the same case. I'm going to scroll down here, and I'm only updating one field. I mentioned a custom field called triage notes. That's a user field. I created it. Actually, I think Sarah may have created it because I'm not very good with Creatio yet. I want to open this up just to show you what an example of transformations. So we get data passed back from Respell as JSON programming language. I have to parse that out. Starfish has functions built in to do that. And then I just set my triage notes. I pull out my triage notes output, and I log that back into Creatio. I'm going to go ahead and cancel that. So that's mapping. If I were to go ahead and I want to show you what it looks like if I map any other field like account name. If I click on this drop down, it's showing me all the fields in my origin. It's even giving me like the distinct values that exist in there, what might be showing up in there. It can give me examples of data. So that it's really quite easy to map. And then again, you can write functions to do data transformations. Any questions so far? Nope. All right, I'm going to go ahead and run this, and I really hope it works because I'm on the free trial and I used half of my freebies. So right now, it's pulling from the origin, 1 of 5, 20%, and it's reaching out to Respell and asking Respell some questions. While that's thinking, I'm going to jump over to Respell. What Respell is, it's a no-code AI application builder. So I built this spell called Triage Cases. It is supposed to be secure and all of that good stuff, although I'm sending sanitized data there. You do have to be concerned about security whenever you're working with AI and sending your data out over the internet. We're going to hear more about that after lunch. This is a new company. It just got a couple rounds of seed money. It's actually built by the son of one of our former employees, which is how I heard about it. So if I edit this, you can see here we have initial case email. So I'm actually pushing information from Creatio into this section. I've given it my instructions here, and this is an input. I've hard-coded it. And one of the things you have to pay attention to when you're working with artificial intelligence is what you're asking it to do, because you have to be really specific, and then you also have to know that you can pass it information. I just pasted our entire Starfish wiki in here with lots of code examples. You can do all of that. It gets even more interesting if you're trying to get it to do things it's not supposed to do. They have just pages and pages and pages of prompts you can give it. Things like pretend you're a therapist talking to a patient about this, because then you can get around, circumnavigate the security they put on these AIs. It's really interesting stuff, but again, you got to be careful with what you're doing. They have let me click off of here. You can have different logic, data, actions, text generation, what version of GPT do you want to use, how much does it cost you, what's conversational. One I like is speech. I originally had it calling my phone and telling me what the result of the triage was, but it didn't work very well. But if I wanted to add that, you would just drag it over here, take your response, put it down here, give it your phone number, and it was calling my phone and reading off to me what the case was and what the next steps are for that case.
What did it sound like?
It sounded pretty good. It didn't sound much like a robot. And then here's just an output triage notes, and that's what's being returned to StarfishETL. And they're adding new things all the time. One of the examples, I suppose I should check on my process here. It says it's 100%. We've got some updates. One of the examples they did on a recent webinar for Respell was one of the people who worked there lost their luggage, so she made a fixed value and said, call these 5 numbers and figure out where my luggage is. Here's my United ID, and it was going back and forth and actually talking to people, and it did eventually find her luggage. It waited on hold for hours, and it was really quite impressive. So I'm going to come back here. I've updated those 5 rows in Creatio, so let's come back to our cases and see what it gave me. I said, please create a marketing email to invite customers and prospects to a Creatio workshop at the Park Ridge Country Club on Wednesday, September 27th. And it put together that email. So this is the type of thing I imagine Harrison, it says they're building into Creatio, these prompts. And again, they're going to do all of the work of getting those really big prompts with all the information about Creatio. So you just have to ask it the questions and it will return the results. Another one that I liked, I think I said one here. Here's one about StarfishETL. How do I make sure I do not reprocess records when using StarfishETL? Looks like that one didn't process. I probably went over my limit on money. In Creatio, how do I make a text field allow carriage returns? I actually had to ask the group this question because I needed triage notes to be multiple lines, and it told me exactly what I need to do. Click on System Designer, click on Object Designer, and had all of that stuff. In Creatio, these are actual questions we recently got. I just went through our cases, and it says, when you merge accounts, does it put all the cases on the remaining one? Yes, it does. And one of the things I want to do, if I'm really playing around with this, I might want to use this in our production environment. I have it prompting to what are the next steps, what are 3 options for resolving this. Please link to documentation for that could be helpful to the person looking at the case. So it's really quite powerful. It is coming, and this is just, like I said, I asked Aaron to build this last week, and he built it in just a couple of hours to be able to talk to this respell company, which I think is really kind of impressive. It may not be something we use, it may not be something our customers use, but I thought you might find it interesting and would kind of show you how an integration can work. Did that make sense? Any questions about that?
That's awesome. Yeah, that's cool. It's fine. Really cool.
So I asked them, they are going to be adding emails and other things like that, SMS, all that good stuff.
So Justin, has this been the time to the...
Not quite. But that's a good question. Let's get back to my presentation here and go to our next slide. So what's coming next for AI? Building it again into the Creatio, which is a platform for more than CRM. It's just a platform to build whatever application you want. But based on the information in my CRM system, please give me a summary of my dealings with this account. We've got a brand new sales rep who's never dealt with our bigger customers, and we've got years of history in there. AI can summarize that in, just a few bullet points. Tell me all my customers that have been having this issue. Personalization of sales, marketing, service, and support responses. We could even start having AI generate these responses, the triage notes, in a way that says, hey, have you tried these things? We're going to get a person working on this soon, but we thought you might want to look at this documentation or give these options. And it's really powerful, and it's really cool. Questions?
What was the name of the company you did?
Respell.ai. It's a no-code AI application designer. It's really easy too.
And you added the connector into Starfish directly into Respell?
Yes, it's only available to a couple of instances. I don't know. I assume we'll deploy it to everybody once I've tested it out more.
Nice.
But if you're interested in that, let me know. I know today's all about AI, so I figured I'd jump on the bandwagon.
So that's neat.
Thank you.